Greetings, gamers, and welcome to episode 5, season 6 of World Pie Gamma, the Gamers Podcast. I am your slightly under the weather GM, and with me is my babysitting co-host Howard, if I remember right.
That is indeed correct.
So, this may be somewhat of a short episode with a lot of Howard and or I muting our mics, because I don't think you all want to hear me coughing up a storm. But we're here and we're doing this, so yay.
We're trying to keep to our original goal of having our weekly podcasts, barring great unfortunate.
Yep.
And apparently my dog is dying over there.
Huh?
Oh, he is. He's over there making some weird, hacking noises.
Huh.
Yeah, so. On with the podcast.
Alright. Well, I have not done much in gaming this week. As we are recording a little late in the week than usual again. I ran... There was one player in my 10Cs game that didn't make it the last time when I started off everyone else, which was okay because of how I was going to work his character in. So yesterday we ran him to get him caught up, and that went well. And that's about it. I've literally done nothing else. Because instead of doing the Karma game I usually do on Friday nights, I went down to my mom's for a day.
That was nice of you.
Yeah. It's also nice to be able to get free laundry.
Free laundry is also very nice.
Always. So,
I just had an epic game. You have no idea.
You suck.
Last night I did my Shintar game, and oh my god, by the end of the game. So, a couple games in the past, Ricky's primary character, the captain of the unit, was captured. He fell into a trap and got captured, along with another secret agent that he was working with. And during this game, let's see, of all the player characters, including Ricky's alternate character, and I had 7 people at the table. Of those 7 people, all but let's see, one player character who was flying made it out more or less without a scratch. But of the rest of them, one was close to death, and the rest of them were taken out.
Damn.
So 8 members of the team are either incapacitated or captured, presumed dead. I've incapacitated the entire party. But I did it through psychology.
Of course you did.
The enemy that they're fighting was playing them like fiddles and got them so riled up, they walked in and made a very, very bad mistake and got themselves blown to hell. But he got them angry enough so that they would make a mistake. Basically, he got them so agitated they stopped thinking and just attacked. And they ran headlong into a trap and got blowed up. It was glorious. Some of the finest manipulation role playing that I have ever done. It was beautiful. So that's what I've been doing, and then of course getting up for. My players have decided we're going to have a Halloween party, which is going to be the weekend before Halloween, and everyone is going to cosplay as their characters.
Awesome.
So we're doing a full team cosplay. People are sewing uniforms and stuff like that for the game.
Oh. I am so stupid.
No argument, but what in particular? Are we not recording?
Huh?
Are we not recording?
No. We're recording. We did do other gaming. We did the Epic game.
Yeah.
On Saturday. So
I figured you were just ignoring that.
No. I'm sorry, dude. I'm tired. Even though I had a short day today. Today was supposed to be a day off. I mean, the building was supposed to be closed because it's a holiday. But our client was paying extra to have us come in today because the big event of the year is later this week. So they needed us so my coworker came in, we only had to come in 4 hours. So he worked like 8 to 12 and then I came in 12 to 4. And in the 4 hours that I was there, things blew up. We went from being only partially busy to, oh, holy hell, what the hell happened?
What did happen?
Basically, the client sent us a long list of not only more people to get registered in for the event, but also of changes, edits to make. Now, I guess we had kind of taken it for granted that we hadn't gotten something like this from them this big yet, so we really should have been expecting it. But usually we get it before the week before the event. Much less, a few days before the event. So, yeah. So that made things a little fun today. And that's going to make going to work tomorrow all the more enjoyable. So,
well, at least you got some work done.
Yeah, and it was time and a half for the hours I worked, plus I'll get paid for the holiday because we get, I'm full time, so I get full holiday pay on all the days off. So in essence, cool. I'm getting kind of 2.5 pay for at least those 4 hours. So the paycheck is definitely nice. Yeah. That's the only thing that kept me from grumbling about, going in general. But yeah, so Epic Game
was in fact epic.
Yes, it was. We did do Epic Games Saturday night, and I calculate that we're only about a session, 2 at the most, from finally ending this. The final fight has begun, and we did. There was a big like army battle. As the characters have to do this ritual to bind the big baddie, the demon dragon, to make him mortal enough for them to kill. And so they had to defend the ritual because the ritual would take like an hour. And of course the enemy threw most of their forces at the player characters, at you guys, because you're in there and you were there. So I talked to them and I was like, look, because we've had such fun with mass battles before, and I want to move things along a bit, I was like, do you want me to do the big battle more thematically, and then do the more round by round tactical stuff with the big fight with the demon dragon once they get to him? And army. And they were like, yeah, sure. So basically I was just like, okay. You created some wonderful maps once again. Thank you.
More than welcome. I love it.
And of course I used the tokens that you had created, plus you'd created me a new one. And I laid out, I was just like, all right, this is what you all are going up against. And I love as soon as the map loaded, and it took some of the players time for the map to load because there was so much on there. But I remember Matt was one of the first ones that had load for, and his exact words, as soon as he looked at it, he was like, holy shit. I was like, this is what you've got, and this is what you're going up against. So I was just like, come up, with a bit of a game plan, which you did, being the tactical, guru that you are.
Oh, that was fun, dude. That was like that was fun, the back and forth.
Well, plus your group had already come up with kind of the tactic that they wanted to use overall, but then once the scene was laid out, you all made a few changes to it, to your plans, which was fine. And then basically I was like, okay, so you guys are like going to plow, over to here. And then I think I started with you, and I was just like, all right, Kieran, you're on the bridge. There's the enemy. Describe what you do. And I pretty much gave everyone a chance to be just complete badasses because there was no roles involved. There weren't many roles involved. I only had roles involved where it was something like really, really poignant, like when they were trying to take down the enemy's ritual circle. And just basically just like, okay, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Just describe it. And everyone seemed to have a blast.
I had a great time.
I'm glad.
Dude, my favorite part of the entire thing wasn't even my guy kicking ass. It was the back and forth, like, when I would watch the enemy move and then we would counter. And then you would describe enemy movement and we would counter.
Yeah.
And what I loved about that so much is you just described what they were doing. You gave us no hints. There were no die rolls for us to, we didn't roll knowledge battle or something like that to figure out, and you tell us exactly what the enemy plan was. You just said, well, these troops are doing this. What do you do? And watching it and trying to interpret what was about to happen to outthink the enemy general, that, my friend, was some of the most entertainment I've had in a long time.
I actually really enjoyed because I specifically designed it to kind of go in waves, as most big battles would. And, of course, like a game of chess, I threw the pawns out first. And then I had, the beefier pieces move up, and I love how when I had changed tactics and the aerial battle started, I then, what's up? Oh, okay. Night. Love you. Sorry.
Love you too, buddy.
Not you. Sorry, the wife is going to bed. The wife, unfortunately, is not feeling well now either, so I apparently gave her whatever the hell I have.
Ooh, sorry about that. Dude.
Yeah, usually it's one of us gets better and then the other one gets sick. I'm not fully over this, and she's been hit with it head on, so this is not fun. But so I had the war grinding orcs right up to the riverbank and then just stop, and they were just sitting there. And I love how as soon as I just described that to Matt, there was just kind of silence, and then Matt was just like, "That's not good." He's like, "What the hell's going on over there?" Pardon me, I didn't hit mute fast enough. So he, but you all had already set something in motion, and then I realized that what they were already setting in motion, what you were setting in motion, was going to affect, and I had to figure out how the hell that was going to, affect each other, and it was very enjoyable for me too. It was actually kind of nice to not have to really worry about much, and it's kind of interesting because normally, when I first really got into role playing, in the terms of tabletop role playing, obviously I got started with Star Wars D6, but kind of role playing in general, I actually was kind of involved in the role playing chat rooms that AOL had back, when AOL was the big, internet provider beast.
Wow, we just dated ourselves.
Dude, I've already been saying that I've been doing this for 20 years. That already kind of dates my ass. So, but the role play in the AOL chat rooms was the best way I could describe it now. Like, I used to love it, and I think I actually still would if there was something like that again that I think I could stomach. And the reason why I say stomach is because the best way I would describe it now, it was free form emo roleplay. It's like almost everyone was being emo in their own way, but there were no guidelines. You could pretty much create any kind of character you wanted, have them be able to do anything you wanted. You just go into these chat rooms and just describe what you're doing and talk to people. Now, as I was leaving those chat rooms, which was actually about RMA, because I couldn't really access them when I was at RMA. Oh, pardon me. It seemed like guilds were getting really popular. And I didn't like the guilds to start with, but the guilds were starting to put some structure to it. So like when you joined a guild, like by the time I left, when you joined a guild, you were given, there were some kind of guidelines for your character. You didn't have to join the guild, but it seemed like to interact, because we did even have battles, like because the AOL chat rooms had like a dice rolling, random number generation system, and so we actually had, there was kind of a standard for what to do when you dueled with someone, which I had actually done a couple of times.
I remember those. I remember. Oh my god, I've not thought of those in years.
So, but the guild started putting, especially for the duels, they started putting guidelines, and of course, you could say your character could do whatever the heck you want, but as soon as you join the guild, that put almost kind of restrictions, because you were just a beginning member of the guild, so therefore you had to roll the certain dice when you dueled, and the other person, and it was, I don't know how it was organized, if much of any. Because usually when I dueled, I would talk to the other player and just be like, okay, what are your rules for dueling? It's like, okay, we roll these are hits, these are misses, and you have so many points, and and either I'd be like, okay, sure, or I'd be like, well, I want to do this and this, and we'd hammer it out, and then we go at it. But it just kind of, but it seemed like, it was also kind of a thing of, because some characters, like if you're dueling and they're like, oh, what guild are you in? Like, I'm not in a guild. They're like, oh, poor you. Because then they were like, oh, I'm going to kick your ass. And I'm just like, screw you. So, and of course, obviously you had some people that just took things way the hell too freaking far. Part of the reason why when I discovered tabletop roleplay, I clung to it so much, because it gave guidelines to where you couldn't do the munchkining, at least to relatively easily, like you could in the AOL chat rooms. And that's what I hated about the chat rooms the most was where we're the little munchkins running around going, power hungry, I can do everything. Because like even the characters I made, I put restrictions on. I was just like, I was like, I remember one character I had was a Jedi. I was like, yeah, he's a Jedi, but he wasn't a Jedi Master. He was a Knight. He got his ass handed to him quite a bit, So I really liked the full structure that the rule system gave. Hang on. And so it got to the point to where I don't do freeform as well as I used to anymore, because I've been so enwrapped in the mechanics of the rule systems of the tabletop RPs. But it's interesting now that I'm starting to maybe kind of want to swing back to a bit more of the, not full free form, actually have some guideline, still some guidelines to things. But I really did like what I did with the Epic game, which was rather free form this last Saturday. So, and with some other things that are going on, it's interesting that I'm starting to kind of swing back towards, my real role-playing roots. So it'll be something I have to explore a bit more, I suppose, as it were.
I was thinking about that. If they still have AOL guilds, man, wouldn't it be hilarious if you and I, just for fun, went in and did our own little AOL guild, like old school role playing, for like, and just like as almost like a joke. But you and I invited our friends to do like AOL guild role play, like old school stuff.
Does AOL even still have their own chat rooms anymore? I mean, I don't even know right now that anymore.
I'm looking it up right now because I want to know. Because wouldn't that be very, very cool if we could actually?
It would, dude. I would so be down for it.
And just like an old home minute.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to put a pin in that.
I mean, I will fully admit, the summer before, I went to RMA. So this was the summer of 97. This was the summer of 97. Okay. Was probably one of my best, most favored summers I've ever had. Ever. Like pre or post. because all that summer, I mean, first and foremost, I knew I was going to, I knew I was being sent to RMA. Within the summer, I knew I was being sent to somewhere, and then eventually got decided on RMA. Which I love the fact that I actually had the final say of that. It's like, it's wonderful. It's like picking my own poison. But considering the other options I had, it was either that or worse, which, if you can imagine.
I could.
So, but that summer was great because I had my first girlfriend. I was dating Sandy, if you remember her.
Oh, I do. Dude, I remember all your girlfriends.
I don't know if you actually have met all of them, but you've met most.
Well, I mean, all the ones since. I didn't meet your girlfriends beforehand, but every girlfriend I think
Sandy was my first, and I know you've met her, so there was no before.
Oh, that's sad. Sandy, I'm sorry.
Thanks. You got to remember the kind of guy I was beforehand. I was the one that chicks weren't exactly falling all over themselves to come to me. So, but anyway, I was dating Sandy at the time. And since it was the summer, and of course, this was between sophomore and junior year, so it's not like I was getting a summer job. Although I had already been employed before, so I guess I could have, but I was like, screw it, I'm being shipped off to, boarding school. No. So I would stay up till like 4 a.m. in the mornings, when the people in California in the AOL chat room started going to bed. I would just spend all day, almost all day in the computer room and RPing and in the chat rooms and whatnot at AOL and surfing the web. And so I would stay up till about 4 a.m., go upstairs, wake up my mom because she was working for, I think it was still IBM at the time, or it might have been L'Oreal, or it was. She worked for IBM for like 30 years as a computer programmer, and there were some things that she had to you had to schedule your time in one of their computer labs to be able to do certain things, and sometimes the only time she could schedule was like 4 a.m. So I would wake up, I would go upstairs, wake her up, be like, Mom, weren't you supposed to be in the computer lab by now? So I'd wake her up to go to the, for her job to go to her lab time. I'd go to sleep, then, sleep till about 12, 1 o'clock-ish, give or take. Grab myself some breakfast, go to the computer lab, log in, and basically, and sometimes I'd go and spend time with Sandy, and sometimes Sandy would come and sit and, watch me on the chat rooms and whatnot. That's pretty much what I did all summer. And it was beautiful.
Sounds like heaven, dude.
It was. It pretty much was. Yeah, I mean, to even, like, just for nostalgia's sake, to be able to do something similar to that again, I would jump at it. So you have to tell me what you.
I'm going to do some research after we get off this podcast. Do some research and see if I can find something, because that would be a lot of fun. And it actually ties into our topic.
It does. It does, actually. So, be my guest. Well, you already did go through what you've done in gaming. Sorry.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Before you, because you had forgotten about the Epic game.
Yeah.
But really, so my topic for tonight centers around. Funny we should mention it. The different forms of medium of role playing. I mean, of course, when we started out, like I said, they were sitting right across the table, and there was AIM, and then there was IRC chat, and that was about it.
Which I didn't do IRC. Because I was originally in AOL, I had AIM.
So AIM, IRC, or physically present. But now we have telecom, we have Skype, we have Google Hangout. There's so many Roll20, and just there's so many possible mediums. So what I was thinking about is talking about, which type of medium have we used, what type of mediums do we prefer, and also, how does a GM handle a situation in which they're running a game in which they have people across medium? For example, they might have a game physically present, but they also might have someone online, or phoning in, because you can game by telephone. I mean, in theory, you really don't need to see each other as long as you trust the person rolling dice.
Mm.
So, would you like to take a stab at this first, or would you like me to take a stab? Open it up.
Oh, sure. No, I can start.
Okay.
Especially considering I currently, I do, most of my games are online now, because most of my players are scattered all across the East Coast. There's even one up in Canada. So, like, you know, the Epic game we do through Google Hangouts and Roll20, because you can access Roll20 through Google Hangouts, which I think is awesome to begin with. I thought that was a great meshing of things. That was whoever's idea that was. I don't know if it was Google's or Roll20's. Whoever's idea that was brilliant. So that's how we do Epic game. And for the Karma game that I do with Miri, Ben, and Emmy, we do use Roll20, but we don't do the Google Hangout. We actually just we kick up Skype for voice and do it and just access Roll20 directly. And I actually prefer that, because, like, even with the Epic game now, even with accessing Roll20 through Google Hangout, I still access Roll20 through a browser, because Hangout, unfortunately, for a GM, now, if I was playing, I may not do this. But I know Google Hangout sometimes has some connectivity issues with Roll20 and whatnot. There's some lag. Hang on a sec.
I believe we're having coughing issues.
Yeah. Try not to blow out people's eardrums. But when you're accessing Roll20 through Google Hangouts, it scrunches your screen. You don't quite see as much of the board as you can through, especially with the size monitor I've got. Well, the size monitor I usually use for that, because I've got a bigger monitor, and that's where I pull up through the browser, and then I get the full view. So when I'm GMing, it's better for me to have the full view, so I can control things a little better. Now, like I said, if I was playing in a game, I might do it through Google Hangout, and that's it, because I don't have quite so much to worry about. So yeah, most of my online gaming, and then again, there are some games that I do, they're just Skype. It's just, we're on voice, and then we just use text. We don't even have the board. Which I still overall kind of prefer. Partially because of my old AOL days, and also partially because using the board, I almost feel like when we're using Roll20, I have to have maps. I have to have miniatures. I have to make it look at least half decent. And I will fully admit, which is why I'm very grateful for the help that you've given, because I sometimes tend to be a lazy ass. So, well, and that's partially because my GMing style, I don't do a lot of prep to begin with, so I don't tend to think about needing prep time until it's game time, and I'm like, oh crap. So I still often prefer doing games just on Skype because of that. Now, I do have a group that's in person, my Lucky 13 group here. So, you know, and I go over to Darcy's place, because Darcy has a medical assistant dog. So, Kiba, who, it's easier for Darcy, and it's easier on Kiba to do it at her place, because Kiba can then kind of relax. But if Kiba's ever outside of the house, Kiba's trained to know that outside of the house, Kiba's working, even when Darcy isn't doing much of anything. So, you know, Kiba's attention is you know, still having to keep, you know, be mindful of what's going on, but at the house, Kiba can relax a bit more. So it's just easier for Darcy for us to meet there. And she's got the space, so it's not as like it's, you know, crammed or anything. So that's good. So we go there. And of course, one of our players who joined up, I think, you know, roughly around the beginning of this year, moved up to Harrisburg. So he Skypes in. So I'm already having to deal with the cross-platforming as well. Now, there are some times, like when I finished the Star Wars game recently with that group, because one of the other players was also in Georgia, which is why the Star Wars game had to be put on pause. I just went, you know what, screw it, let's just all meet up on Roll20. I whipped up some maps, and we just all just, did it online. Because 2 of the people were going to be Skyping in anyway. I wanted some visuals for this, so I felt it was just easier that way. But it's sometimes a little unnerving or a little nerve-wracking to have Jordan be Skyping in, and that's because I know Jordan is such a good role player, and I like to visually see what he does, and I know that he misses some things. Because even though, like, Darcy sets up her laptop for Jordan to Skype in and then points it right at me, so that the camera on her laptop can see me, and so Jordan can see me, because when I GM, and like how I'm talking right now, even though there's not a freaking camera, I gesticulate a lot, and I do a lot of visual cues as well as, my descriptions. So I know that helps, but I know there's just a little bit missing with him Skyping into with him being in person. Of course, it'd be highly impractical for him to be in person. Because it would be like I know you've got people that do this kind of commute, if not more, for your games, but like up until recently, he didn't even have a car. So it was going to be a physical impossibility. I think he's got a car now, but like Harrisburg is like a good 45 minutes to an hour drive from here. Although there was one time here recently that he came and spent the weekend with Darcy, so therefore he was physically there for games, so that was cool. But hang on.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a break for coughing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to turn things over to you here for a minute to give my throat time to rest. But, so, overall, in the terms of like my choice of mediums to do, it depends on the style of game I'm doing. More importantly, it depends on the numbers. And I think I've said this before. I know we've talked similar about this stuff before on the podcast, but when I've got a smaller group, I find it easier for me to GM if we're online. So, like, I used to be able to do one-on-one in person. I don't seem to do that very well anymore. I'm not entirely sure why either. But the one-on-one, it helps me because usually when I'm doing a one-on-one or a small group, I have a lot of NPCs I have to keep track of. And oftentimes my NPCs will talk to each other and sometimes argue, which I know Liz used to love watching me do in person. But it helps people keep things straight if I'm doing online, because it's in text and I can keep names straight and who's talking to who and what was said a little bit more straight in person. Online than in person. But as the group gets bigger, if I do a large group online, I tend to start forgetting people faster than what I would do in person with a large group, because like online, my comfort is between like 1 and I think about 4, maybe 5 people at the most. If I start getting more than 5, I start having issues online. In person, I can do up to about 8 or 9 if I push it in person. If I've got like someone that's helping me like co-GM, like keep track of stuff and looking up rules for me and whatnot, I can even push it a little higher. So yeah. So I mean, I overall I tend to like online overall, but that's also because most of the people I like to roleplay with are at a distance. And so the internet gives me the opportunity to still, like with you, it still gives me the opportunity to roleplay with them even though we're 4 or 5 states away. So as a favorite, I would have to say online, but I still do like getting together in person with a group. The energy is definitely
higher,
different too.
Well, yeah, you have synergy. Yeah, it's more synergist, or there's more synergy because people are feeding off each other.
Yeah.
It's harder to do that online.
So there you go. Take it away.
For me, I really don't have a preference between online or in person. Larger groups obviously are easier to do in person, but then again, I've done up to like 11 people online before. It was hell, but I did it. What I'm running into now though is, it's really funny is, my family is in the rental house business. And so we have a ton of rental houses here around, but this is our business. So I live in a postage stamp. Because I can't make any money. We can't make any money off this building. Well, we did, but it's very low income. Versus one of the larger buildings, we can make more money off of. So they stick me in here, and they rent out the big buildings. It's in economic sense. It sucks for me, but there it is.
Yeah.
Which means I don't have a gaming area here. I can have no more than 3 people here gaming, and then it gets too tight.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing it at another of our family properties, but then my mom decided that she liked it, and so I got kicked out. So now we're gaming at Ricky's place.
That was last year even.
Yeah, now we're gaming at Ricky's place, and Ricky has opened up his home. His wife's cool with it, his kids are cool with it, but he has no internet. Well, about the time that we made the move to Ricky's house, one of my players got accepted to a Colorado graduate school and left, but did not want to leave the game. So, we are now effectively she is actually calling in. She basically speakerphone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a conference call. And so I have one person conference calling in, no visual, just voice, which is, for what we do is fine. And then everyone else is in person. And it's different.
And you also know that would not have been possible, or at least economically possible, up until recently as well.
Of course. Oh,
because with the phone companies and whatnot, that kind of a long distance call
would have been cost prohibitive. But now with free nights and weekends on cell phones, boom, you're good to go.
Or even just unlimited minutes, period.
Yeah, unlimited if we're on the same network and stuff like that. And but that's the world is changing. That's what is we need to talk about. The entire world of communication is changing, and we have to change to adapt. And then you have. Where, for example, I've done online games where I'll have a physical party and then I'll set up a computer with a webcam. And I've actually done 2 groups together where my physical group is present in one place and I've actually Skyped in individuals or more than one individual and basically doing a teleconference where, there's 2 computers facing each other and one is a window into one group and the other one's a window in the other group and you basically play at one extra long table. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
You always run into the problem where you have a communication loss. The one person who's out, will always feel a little bit disjointed, a little disconnected because they're not getting the visual and verbal cues. They don't quite feel this. They don't quite feel the same level of connectedness or participation.
Yeah.
But then again, if they're a superior role player and if they are paying attention and they're willing to have the patience, it can be very rewarding. I won't say as rewarding, but it can be very rewarding because. It's almost better to have half and half than half online, half in person than just to have one. Yeah, than to have one person because we've done the same thing where I've actually had Ricky in person and I've done an online game and he was in, and Ricky was sitting next to me using my connection. Well, Ricky felt kind of disjointed, but that he was the only guy in person. But then he kind of felt disjointed because the rest of them had access to customized maps and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas he wasn't. So you're always gonna if you have a situation where you have an odd man out, on a different form of communication, there's always going to be a sort of energy loss. There's going to be kind of a disconnect. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. And the truth of the matter is with the modern day, in theory, it might be interesting one day just for shiggles to have a game in which you had, one person call in, one person online, one person, physically present there, and actually run a game like that. It's possible.
Yeah. You also have to worry about tech issues, especially with the online stuff, because there's always going to be someone in the group that doesn't have as good of a connection as the others.
Yeah.
Or their computer, because like with the Epic game, Miri, bless her soul, is literally running on a laptop POS. Like she specifically says that when she does Google Hangouts, she can barely do anything else on that laptop before the lag gets too bad for the voice in the Google Hangout. It takes her a while to open up her character sheet, and then having the character sheet open, having the Acrobat Reader open, starts lagging the computer. And I so wanted to get her a new computer, and I've tried a different couple of avenues. Unfortunately, nothing has worked out. but I so just want to be like, Miri, just here.
Well, even if the computer works, I mean, my internet over here, with storms and stuff like that. And heck, I dropped 4 times last night. I mean, granted, it wasn't during any of my turns,
5.
but 5 times.
5.
So I dropped 5 times. Not for very long, but
No.
you always have to deal with that. And then of course, you're always going to have one neophyte who has no clue what the hell they're doing, and like they're pushing buttons on their computer and they're closing windows and they're absolutely muting other people. And you're like, how do you function in modern society if you can't operate a computer? But but then again, the truth of the matter is I mean, is that much any different than the people who don't have a car who can't show up to your game, or the people who, are perpetually late or don't actually show up? And that's kind of the point. It's like I have people driving, 45 minutes.
But at least for some of those, and sorry to interrupt.
Oh, your podcast, dude.
Well, yeah, but still. At least with those with the tech issues, it's not entirely within their control.
That's true.
Entirely not their fault. Those that are late constantly, or that don't call or something like that, that is more within their control, or just flat out their fault, than the tech issue. So I feel kind of bad. I always feel bad when there's tech issues, because I know it's frustrating for them, it's frustrating for the rest of the group, it's frustrating for me, but I try not to get pissed off at that person because I know it's not their fault.
Well, basically, when I do online games, when you run or play an online game, there's this assumption that there's going to be tech issues. You just it's
like the podcast.
Exactly. You just assume that it's going to be there, and you sort of, I guess, budget. I mean, I pretty much budget time for crap to fail. But what I mean is, and it's weird for us, because you were mentioning the whole AIM thing, man. I was thinking about our topic and how perfectly you illustrated the fact is that when we started out, like I said, there was AIM, IRC, and physically being present, and none of us had cars. Nope. So if we weren't at the boarding school, if we didn't have a ride, that was it, because you couldn't call because it was prohibitively expensive.
Yep.
And then again, there was no way in hell we were going to be able to get access to conference equipment. Do you think our parents were going to spend at that time would have been like couple $100
not even that. The either the level of technology wasn't there yet, or even if their parents got it for us, the school was restrictive.
Right.
So,
but I mean, even if we were at home on the weekends, I mean, what would a relatively crappy speakerphone conference equipment, because that would have been business industrial conference equipment, the one of those tabletop speakerphones.
Yeah.
What would those have run in 1999?
Oh Lord, hundreds.
$300?
More, if not more, if it was even
available.
Yeah, even available.
So we're, I believe, and we're getting a little off topic, but we do this. I believe that the growth of gaming is directly related to the ease of communication. The more ways we have to connect, the more avenues we have to communicate. Because like I said, I was going to be physically present. You have a gamer there. She had to leave, so we're going to do internet. Internet failed, so we went to phone. I mean, backup after backup after backup after backup. I mean, we were getting to the point where we're going to be using smoke signals, but
shows the tenacity.
Dude, you know me. I don't give up. I'm like a dog with a bone. But and it works. I won't say it works beautifully, but we're also she and I are looking into buying some electronic equipment, an actual speakerphone system, Bluetooth speakerphone, which will be better for our purposes. But think about that. We can go to Amazon and get a Bluetooth speakerphone for $45, where she and I are paying half and half. So that's what, $20 a piece, $23 a piece?
Yeah.
To get a top of the line, because they're on one of these deals that go through these tech deals. We get a speakerphone that 20 years ago, first of all, obviously it wouldn't even have existed, but even if something like that had existed, it'd be thousands of dollars. And yet we can go on Amazon and pick one up and have it delivered straight to our house, because she has Prime, basically overnight, for $40. Our ability to communicate has improved, has enhanced, has contributed to the explosion of gaming, but it has also provided us with interesting and new challenges, because we're having to figure out as GMs how to integrate this new technology, these new ways of communicating into our games, so that we're not. Like you're talking about the maps, how if you're on Roll20, you feel obligated to have tokens and maps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever you have a technology, whenever you have, and actually, one of my gamers was telling me that they were at another game, And a tabletop game, like actually physical present, and that person had, maps, that person had tokens, that person had like all the newfangled like magnetic tokens for for marking damage. Like, I mean, literally every bell and every whistle.
Mm.
All like custom stuff, all custom for the system. But my friend was saying that, sometimes with all that stuff, the technology, the gadgets, the gizmos, the cool newfangled things, all of the little things the props get in the way of the role play. Because you're spending so much time managing, handing out tokens and, getting the magnetic things to track wounds and damage and the token counters, all this sort of stuff, that you spend so much time dealing with that. Or in your case, you're trying to manage the Roll20 program. And you've got all these tokens and all the, because like last night, or whatever, not last night, but when we played the Epic game, you're like, look, I'm not going to move the tokens.
Yeah. Lord, no.
But that's
I literally had I think a good 100 or more tokens. There was no way in hell I knew I was going to be able to move all that. It would have taken all night.
Right. Exactly. And you made the judgment call. But that is what I'm trying to point out is that, the point is that with 3D printers, people are now beginning to print their own minis. Could you imagine in high school if someone had handed us a printer and said, you can print out any mini you want? I mean, could you imagine our minds would have just blown, right?
But I would, yeah,
right?
blown, and then I would have been a printing fiend.
But that's my point. We now have 3D printers where people are literally printing custom minis. We have with all of these, cosplay, all this new technology, people are creating costumes and cosplay for their characters. With these cutting equipments, the 3D printers are creating custom templates and for blast templates, and people are creating spell books. You got apps on your phone that can track all your spells. You push a button, dice, all of this stuff. But, and this goes with the communication, with all the various communication, we have all this crap. But at the end of the day, it boils down to the GM being able to run a quality game. And, these communications, each channel has its own challenges. Tech issues notwithstanding, call quality notwithstanding, voice versus, physical. Does sometimes the monitor creates lag? Does seeing people on the computer monitor distract people? If you're on the phone, then they can't be surfing the web. But if they're on the computer, you're guaranteed you're going to have them social loafing because they're going to be on the web and all this sort of crap. But the thing about it is as a GM, the trick is to use the technology, basically use as little of the technology as needed to achieve your objectives, but not overuse the technology such that the technology itself becomes a detractor from the quality of your game. And that's a hard balance sometimes because everyone wants to try the newfangled thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone wants the custom dice, the custom mini, the custom app. Like you were talking about in the last one about people using dice rolling apps. And how that's gotten so popular, but you're almost about to call the kibosh on it because inherently in the dice roller apps, it presents its own issues.
Yep.
Because apparently not all dice roller apps are created equal. So, so you illustrated in the last one how these technological innovations, how these technological advances can help, but also they can be a detriment if not used properly. Yeah. And same thing with communication. You've got to be really careful about how you set stuff up, who you allow, what personality types. Because some people, the minute they go online, you lose them because they don't have the mental and personal self-discipline to be able to be remotely removed. Some people need the groups. Basically, they need peer pressure in order to remain focused on the task at hand.
Yep.
I.e. the game, correct?
Yep.
Some people are just too immature.
And even then, because there are some people even in person, they wander.
Right. Could you imagine those people off alone sitting in an apartment talking to you over the phone for 4 hours?
Not really.
Exactly. So, while technology has opened up worlds to us, while technology has allowed so many new and innovative ways of communicating, of collaborating, of gaming, it has also opened up a whole new host, like Pandora's box, of problems, of issues, of difficulties, of new things that can go wrong to interfere with the game. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, catch-22. I mean, I guess that's all the way. Oh, I guess that's all the
double-edged sword, I believe, is what you were looking.
Double-edged sword, and with technology, that's usually the way it is. But for us in particular, it's using the least amount of technology needed to get the job done, in my opinion. Using the right technology for whatever you're trying to do, but also going into it with planning and preparation so you know what you're getting into. Doing call tests if you're going to be using phones. Make sure you have the speakerphone option. Make sure you have power. Make sure you have the mics if you're going to be using voice chat. Make sure you have a headset rather than talking through even the mic on your computer. Having headsets like we're doing. Thunder Typer. Type it away. Thunder Typer. Hammered every day. So, sorry guys. He started me in the Thunder Typer. I had to sing the whole jingle. Okay, so...
Well, and to explain, that's like when you've got a laptop with a built-in mic. That mic tends to pick up when you're typing. Even when you try typing lightly, it sounds like you're slamming on the keyboard, and that's where that comes from.
Right. So that's why I have headsets. And actually, I told my gamer who was remotely, I said you need to get a headset even for your phone. Because otherwise, the call quality is going to be bad or whatever. And they did. And actually, the minute they put the headset on, things worked better. But again, you got to choose the right technology. If you're going to use technology, you have to have the right technology. And that's a key. Mm-hmm. You got to have the headset. If you're going to do it, you need to have the headset. This whole thing is like, well, we'll do online, but I didn't get the headset, so I'll just use the laptop mic. And I'm like, no. It's going to be a crappy experience for you. It's going to be a crappier experience for me, and you're going to get frustrated. You're going to quit. But if you get a mic, you set it up, if we use the right programs, if we do this correctly, then it'll work. Maybe not perfectly, but it'll work. But oftentimes, and I think you said it before, is you either accept the difficulty of technology and utilize it, or you don't game, because oftentimes the reason we're using these technological assistants is mainly because that without them we couldn't game with the people that we want to game with, right?
Yep.
So I think the hardest...
I also do appreciate some people's tenacity for it as well, because
yes.
I remember there's one time Miri, because her headset died, was utilizing on this crappy computer two different headsets, because one because the mic worked but not the earphones, and then the other one vice versa. So she had one on for the earphones and the one for the mic. And the mic kept moving, and we were like, okay, we can't hear you, Miri. And she had to move it again.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, but she kept up with it.
That's the kind of gamer you want. Mm-hmm. But I guess the thing here is that the most difficult kind of gaming in the modern world is cross communication gaming, in the sense where you have cross medium gaming, where you have some people physically, some people on the phone, some people online. However that breaks down, and being able to pace it for the two, pace it, being able to adapt to multiple different kinds of, because each one has its own idiosyncrasies, and being able to adapt to multiple of them and blend them to create a quality experience for everyone. It's to me, that's one of the most challenging types of gaming nowadays.
Yeah.
But to be able to do it when you have tenacious players that are willing to work with you, when you have the right equipment, you've taken some time to prep, and you understand it. And if you're a GM who can handle it, it can create incredible role-playing experiences, because you can offer this hobby to people in locations that otherwise would be totally cut off.
Yep.
So I guess that the moral of the story is that it's difficult, it's a pain in the ass, but it allows us to really, really, enjoy this hobby pretty much anywhere on the globe. And if you have could you imagine someone sitting in the Congo on a sat phone role playing? I could see it.
Oh, I could see us doing it if we ever found ourselves in the Congo, but...
If you or I ever find ourselves in the Congo,
we have to.
Something has gone really, really wrong, or really, really right. I don't know, but that would be one of those things.
It still depends on the circumstances.
Although, if we do end up in the Congo with a sat phone, we're totally gonna have to do Ropai.
Oh hell yeah!
That would be the most epic thing ever. And people
this is your GM Byron dealing with dysentery.
I know. It'd be like, why are we in the Congo? I don't even remember, dude. Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
While we were booting up for this, while the intro monologue or whatever, I was just finishing a conversation with another player in Shinetar who has a kingdom, and my kingdom my city, which is an independent city, just got hit hard. Had the wall broken. We needed a bunch of stone, but we're pretty much in the middle of grasslands. We have no stone available. Well, they're a dwarven kingdom with more stone than they know what to do with. Well, a previous storyline that I ran this past summer dealt with something called the Phoenix Moth, which meant that Eshnaut in the area around the city, I had a bumper crop this year. Basically, I had like my food surplus this fall after harvest is going to be insane because of the previous storyline I did with another group up in Sog. Well, so I'm talking to the guy from Stalheim, and since we had signed a treaty a year ago, his kingdom and my kingdom had signed a treaty. I extended an offer of making a mutual trade where I would trade food because I have a surplus food for his stone to repair my city. Well, he informed me that since the tempest of mid 2133 or 2133 through 2134, his kingdom was strapped for food and they needed food. So we have just signed an international trade agreement between the Kingdom of Stalheim and Eshenot, and we're actually going to in-game going to be doing trade groups, and our games are going to actually be crossing for the next couple months as we our PCs actually go back and forth between games, escorting grain or food shipments and stone shipments back and forth. And we're going to be guest starring in each other's games as our main GM NPCs, as to basically negotiate and to continue fostering the trade agreement. But I just signed an international trade agreement in a game that's actually going to affect the next 6 months of gaming, and two groups are now going to be operating together for 6 months as part of this trade agreement.
Sometimes I hate you. You know that, right?
I love you too, bud. But is that not awesome?
That is incredibly awesome. That makes me incredibly jealous. Although on the flip side, though, I know that I don't believe I could have gotten to where you have because of how much effort and work you've put into that. Because, as stated before, ADHD life, and I'm a lazy butt sometimes. So you have definitely earned it. Don't get me wrong. I'm still jealous.
I will say this about that. For years, my wife, in addition to being beautiful, is also very good at computer design, stuff like that. Your wife, of course, is also fantastic at being an artist. Mm-hmm. My wife, came by it through doing advertising stuff like that because she did layout and stuff, and she became very good at photo manipulation, layout, and that sort of stuff. So she has the ability to create all these tokens and everything that I needed. But the problem was that she did it when we were first married, but after a while, it was like I was needing them so often, she just didn't have time. So I finally one day I was like, look, can you just teach me the basics of Photoshop so I can figure this crap out myself? And so she did. She taught me she did like a Photoshop 101. Well, mm-hmm. I've been fiddling with it since that time, and I am still just a novice, but I have learned enough to create the things that I need for my game and for other people's games. But the funny thing is I looked for years to find somebody to be able to create maps, custom tokens, things like that for my games. And since I couldn't find anyone, I finally just broke down and learned the technology myself. And now, I would say I'm a competent user, and I'm getting, I'm trying to move on to expert level. But now that I have the ability, all my friends who also either don't have, in some cases don't have time, or in some cases don't have the ability, now they have someone that is able to do these things for them. So it's so funny that I spent years trying to find someone to do what I had to learn to do, but now I offer that service to other people.
Well, the problem is for me is, to an extent, I already had those skills.
I know.
So I just don't have the time.
I know that as well.
So,
but that's the thing is that I'm pretty much babysitting my daughter every night. So when she's not screaming, I'm on my computer. As a matter of fact, this whole entire podcast, she's been asleep on my chest, and I'm
that's why you can't talk up.
Well, that's why I can't yell, but I'm talking loud enough for you to hear me. And the point is that she hasn't woken up yet. Can you imagine that? I mean, she's been asleep this entire podcast, and sure enough, right as we're about to log off, because we'll be logging off in here in a minute, this little bug's going to wake up wanting food. But she is calmly and very peacefully snuggled my chest this entire podcast.
Aww.
Hey, look, it's gamer life, dude. Gamer life. We're gonna be sitting on rocking chairs, retired, still chucking dice.
Sure as hell hope so. So, anyway, that seems like a pretty good place to wrap this up, and considering how my throat is feeling, I'm wondering how much sleep I'm actually going to get tonight. So,
yeah, dude, I'm real sorry about that.
That's all right. No deal. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, what the fucks, you can tweet us, email us, catch us on the blog or the YouTube comments. Actually, I do want to talk to you a quick bit right afterwards. So,
of course.
So yeah, so thank you for joining us this week. Hopefully you will join us next week. We'll have to figure out when we're going to be recording next week. Because
We might have a week hiatus.
yeah, you know what? Why don't we actually go ahead and plan for one? Just
That works for me.
I can get physically better, and because like the reason why is next week is because my whole next weekend, no gaming at all because I'm going to be all over the place. So,
All right.
but
Very good. So let's do it. Let's
join us next time.
next time.
So, and I have been your GM Byron.
I've been your cohort host Howard, and my beautiful little bug, silent partner.
And just remember the motto of Rho Pi Gamma is roll high,
Roll high,
play well,
play well, die hard.